from the incinerator, and therefore is a site to be able to monitor activity from that plume. The emissions from the plant are also monitored at source and assessed as part of the environmental permitting and legal requirements by the Environment Agency. There's no indication that any emissions from the plant exceed the appropriate levels set out as part of this process. The Council is committed to improving health and wellbeing in Halton, and the Council does take the issue of air quality very seriously. We will continue to monitor air quality and ensure that it continues to meet statutory obligations, but we also want to measure air quality to assure ourselves and our population that air quality is not a cause of ill health. The report makes 4 key recommendations, and we encourage the committee to agree these recommendations to take forward to the Executive Board. The recommendations are: 1, that we undertake a series of public engagement events across the borough to help understand the concerns that local people have around air quality and improve the transparency of relationships between the council and the local population. Number 2 is to develop a multi-agency air quality forum which will enable issues and concerns to be discussed in an open, engaged forum and identify agreed outcomes and actions going forward. Number 3 is to investigate further opportunities to limit vehicle emissions and reduce the nitrogen dioxide levels within the air quality management areas, and hopefully remove the designation of the air quality management area. And number 4 is to develop a full air quality strategy based on available local and national evidence to ensure that Halton is able to sustain recent improvements in air quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Come down first. Can we move on to the part on the agenda for questions, please? There are, I do apologise, there are a number of questions. There are 7 questions. Questions 8 and 9 from Mary Sykes was received at 17:31, and question 9 from Donna Woods was received at 20:59. So they will not be taken today. However, they will not be ignored. They will receive a written response within 7 working days.
I do think that we should have a response to the accusation that there was misleading information.
You are here to put questions forward only.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't know that this misleading information was going to be coming up here.
True. Well,
that information was based on a meeting that Mr. Hall held.
I don't intend to have a debate with you, okay? But when you start talking like that, all I can say is, we are going to deal with the questions.
Yeah, but you've already inferred what we...
Questions 1 to 7 will be taken tonight. And after each one has actually been answered, they will be entitled to a supplementary. Okay?
We'll wait till then.
That is the way it's actually to be done. I did already explain that out there to your colleagues that were actually in the hall outside. Okay. Also the procedure for the whole of a PPB is in fact online, as was the actual quality report. Okay. Can we go to? I did ask outside if you wanted to put all of the 7 questions. So I assume nobody's come back to me, so I assume you now want to go through the 7 questions, even though some of the questions are in fact near enough the same, with the same responses. Okay, so we'll move to very quickly. There is half an hour allocated for this. That is the standing orders. So can we move to question 1, please? Anne-Marie Atherton.
Yes, the question has stated that Halton Borough Council has quoted in a Liverpool Echo article that it fails its levels of nitrogen dioxide, and that this comes from road traffic. The question asks that we draw attention to an article from the United States Environment Protection Agency, which identifies high levels of asthma associated with nitrogen dioxide. Also, that it draws attention to a published paper to prove that nitrogen dioxide comes from incinerators. The question asks if we can distinguish between road traffic nitrogen dioxide and that from incinerator, and if local asthma is associated with that. And the response is that nitrogen dioxide is produced and is emitted by combustion processes, therefore the incinerator does produce nitrogen dioxide. Air monitoring cannot distinguish between nitrogen dioxide from different sources, and the results of monitoring undertaken across the borough for nitrogen dioxide show that, including those around Western Point, that all the levels are well within the legal limits, except within the air quality management areas within Widnes. The air quality management areas within Widnes were declared 3 years prior to the development of the incinerator in Runcorn, and therefore the high levels of nitrogen dioxide cannot be associated with that. A series of monitoring has been undertaken across the borough, and the only areas recording high levels are the 2 areas within Widnes. We can identify that this is as a result of local traffic activity. If it was not, then we would see more widespread high levels of nitrogen dioxide across the borough, which we're not. I would draw your attention in the main body of the report on page 25, which highlights 3 graphs, which show 3 maps which show Western Point. We have commissioned an independent study to identify and model pollutants within Western Point as a result of the running of the Energy for Waste incinerator. And all of the values for nitrogen dioxide come back as below the objective levels, except on the actual expressway itself. So the second you move within a metre from the edge of the expressway, the levels are back to normal levels. We do accept that air pollution can and does impact upon health, including the association between nitrogen dioxide and an increase in asthma and severe asthma attacks. The data within Halton does not show any relationship between the 2 air quality management areas and increased rates of asthma or asthma attacks. The United States Environmental Protection Agency article that was referred to in the question does state that nitrogen dioxide is associated with severe asthma attacks. However, the data from that paper uses the American standard, which is 100 micrograms per metre squared, as the designated limit. The limit within the UK is less than half of that, at 40. So even if we got to 40, we would not be experiencing the high levels that are quoted in the article, and therefore we do not reach the levels at which increase in asthma exacerbations could be achieved.
Okay, thank you. Is there a supplementary question, please, from Anne-Marie Atherton? No. Move on to question 2 then, please, from Colin Butler. Hang on, is Colin Butler here? Can you read your question, please, Mr. Butler?
I can, I'll go and turn the mic on.
Just right one.
Yes, that's the right one.
Yeah.
Right. The question, the question I would like to ask the committee concerning additional AQM in the borough is this, and I apologise if it is long-winded, but the whole issue is a complicated matter, as it relates to the monitoring of emissions from the Energy from Waste site. My question is this: considering that the DCC committee refused to endorse INEOS's proposal for a single point monitor, which was positioned upwind of the incinerator, the one that the lady previously says monitors the plumes, but it's less than 10% of the time, does this present